If you own your home and you want to turn it into a rental property in the future, there's a few things that you need to know that will save you thousands of dollars. The first thing is that even though it's your home right now, you want to think of it as an investment property when you're making the plans around your next mortgage renewal. What I mean by this is that it's going to be an investment property. You want low payments for a few reasons. One is that if the payments are lower, the income you generate relative to the expenses of the property will be a better relationship, which means a lower risk property. Now, the reason that that's important is that it'll allow you to have better cash flow, and qualifying if you buy a new home, it'll be a safer investment overall and you'll have less stress. The second reason is that the interest on an investment property is a tax deduction. So if we're going to take extra money and use it to pay down debt, we're better to do it on non-tax deductible debt first because it's more expensive. Because you have to earn the money, pay taxes, then pay the interest. Whereas on tax deductible debt, you essentially just pay the interest. There's no taxation cost. Now, an important consideration is that when you collect rent and you put it towards a rental property, that rent is going towards two components. The interest, which is a tax deduction, and the principal, which is not. So third consideration is that when you collect rent and you pay your mortgage on a rental property, the CRA is going to tax you on the portion that goes towards paying down the debt. Now, we are creating profit or equity in that property, but you can't access it. So you have to be careful there because it can make it so that a cash flow neutral rental property becomes cash flow negative. So I highly recommend considering your next mortgage renewal, typically starting 4 to 6 months before your renewal comes up, so there's time to plan this out. If you think you're going to rent your home, we want to extend the amortization to 30 years to make it a more efficient property. It improves your cash flow, lowers the risk of the investment, makes you more tax efficient overall, and improves the overall burden of the property by making it so that you're not paying down a bunch of principal and having the CRA tax it. Instead, you'll have that money in your hand and you can use it to pay down other debts that are more expensive, like the debt on your new primary residence. Now, one other consideration I want you to think about is that if you're going to pull equity from your property to buy a new primary residence, there are ways that accountants can help you structure this where it's done and it's created, when you pull the money out, it becomes a tax deduction, even though it's used to buy your new primary residence. So there is an opportunity to save tens of thousands of dollars in taxes, but just being a little bit more efficient and planning ahead. The final thing I want you to consider is that when you take your primary residence and you turn it into a rental property, you need to make a declaration that year to the CRA. So I highly recommend that you have a good accountant who will help you through this. And ideally, you should have a good financing person who at least understands enough about this to warn you about these implications, to make sure you're asking the right questions to the right professionals so that you can make an informed decision. So if you need any help with this, feel free to reach out. I will happily help you make your next renewal as efficient as possible so that you're in the best position, because I want you to have more for your family. I don't want you to give it to the bank or the CRA. So feel free to reach out and I'll do my best to help you.